Welcome to 100% Alive, the show where you overcome your fears, frustrations, and failures to do what you never thought possible. I'm Dr. Lauren Murfield. I'll be your host. Why? Why am I dressed this way? Why here? Why now? And in some ways, you may say, why live 100% alive? Welcome back to the show. I'm Dr. Lauren Murfield, your host. Our challenge today is to say, find your why. And I thought, what better way to do this is to dress some way that you'd look and say, why, Doc? And so I'm wearing my PhD regalia, is what we call it. And it's that cap and gown that faculty wear. Not just the typical mortarboard. I got a different one. And all of this leads to the question of why. Well, in this show, in this particular episode, what we're going to talk about is finding your why. Finding your why of saying, what's my purpose? How's it going to make a difference in the world? Once we find our why, we can figure out the how and even the what. Why am I doing it? Let's get going, and hopefully this won't be too distracting for you. I told you I went back to college. And I have to say why. A lot of people have asked why. My mother, wonderful person. When I came back in my first semester of going back to school, I turned 31 that year. And I told her, I know what I want to do. She goes, why? I says, I want to receive my PhD and teach college. Okay, that's nice, but why do you need the doctorate? Why can't you get just a master's plus 30 or something like that? I says, no, first of all, it is a standard set by the academia. It's standard set. In order to get a job in academia or to teach college at that level, I knew that I had to have a PhD. And turned out, by the time I was ready to start looking for a job as a PhD, I had to apply for 145 jobs in 3 years. At one point, there was 200 to 300 job applicants for every opening to teach college to get the rather pathetic pay that they got. Why? Again, going back, if you watched the last episode, find my why. Why did I want to do it? I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to take my learning to the highest level. That's why it took me 8 years to get my degrees, my bachelor's, master's, and PhD. That's why people go to the end of their wisdom, end of their thinking, end of their efforts. They go farther and faster than they ever thought possible. But to do that, they have to take the extreme effort. And in the middle of that, you have to know your why. You're not going to train for a marathon, we'll talk about in the next episode. You're not going to do that. You're not going to go that far. You're going to get tired, you're going to give up, unless you know your why. And when I drug this out of the closet today, I felt good about it. I felt good wearing this at graduations. Think about that. Graduation was my why. Because to see these students walk across the stage with their degree, prepared to go into the world as much as they could at that time. We all learn and grow from there. We find our why. And once we find our why, watch out. Now, let's talk about why live 100% alive. I can say, why not? Who wants to live in that drudgery? Who wants to live in that doubt and depression and defeat. Who wants to do that? I don't. But that's different in saying, I don't want that anymore, to saying what's important, what's critically important. See, when I was teaching, I had another number of students that say, I want a good grade so I can get a good job. That was my why. The challenge was they didn't want to spend the effort to gain an education, to earn an education. They just simply wanted a diploma. That's different. When we want to live 100% alive, we want to willingly find the best opportunities and earn them ourselves. We want to work for them. We want to do whatever is necessary to seize them. Because you will never, ever, ever live 100% alive by somebody giving you anything. Oh, sure, we'll get advice, we'll get mentoring, we might even get some financial resources, but that's just fringe. The core of what we find and enjoy by living 100% alive is who we become, what we have learned, what we have done, and who we are still willing to become. Wow. I mean, when I think about it, living 100% alive, why? It's not for selfish gain. It's not at all. It's to help the world improve. It's help solve significant problems for yourself, but mainly for others and for our society. That is where it gets to be fantastic. That's euphoric, if you want to use the bigger words. My dad, again, was a farmer, and he didn't go beyond high school. Doesn't make him any less. But he didn't understand my why. He stopped by shortly before graduation, and I was ironing the gown or something. And no, I was ironing another shirt. And he says, boy, once you get that PhD, you're not going to be able to keep the buttons on your shirt. And my wife kind of laughed and she goes, no, that's not the way it works. You were put through so much rigor to get the PhD. You doubt yourself. And so it's not an egotistical thing. That's not why you're doing it. But instead you do it to say, now I am qualified to serve in a way that I wasn't before. Not just with a diploma, but with the knowledge. And that made all the difference in the world. And with you right now, living 100% alive, don't look at this as a prosperity doctrine. Don't look at this as a get-rich-quick scheme. Don't look at this as egotistical, that I'm living 100% alive and somebody else isn't. That's not it at all. It's about living 100% alive to say, what's out there and why not? In the next episode, we're going to talk about impossible. Impossible is fantastic. It's fantastic to do things that we never dreamed possible. And so I loved wearing this regalia at graduation because it signified everything I'd done to go from a warehouse worker, from a guy shoveling manure as a middle child, to setting myself apart by finding my prize inside and doing what I never thought possible. Bam! That's just an explosion of energy. That's why we do it, is because it brings us alive, but it helps other people come alive. So understand and find your why. Find it and understand it. Drill down on it. And even though You may find yourself saying, wow, this really sets me apart. In some ways, people say in a weird way. I had a friend of mine look at me when I wore this outfit as part of a speaker graduation. And he says, I'd never wear that. I don't know why anybody would want to wear that. That's embarrassing. And I looked at him, not in a mean way, but just in an honest way. And I says, but I wouldn't wear what you're wearing. Because he had his own unique style. And I says, I wouldn't be caught dead in that. Because that's not me. Doesn't mean that either one of us were wrong. But he didn't understand my why. And what we do is we find our why, we help other people find their and appreciate their why. That becomes critically important. I've discussed why I went on to be a college professor and also why I left. If I loved it that much, why would I leave it? And part of it was because I wanted to be even more effective. And I have been. Had I stayed in academia, I wouldn't have written as many books as I would have. I would have written different books. I wouldn't have had a TV show. I wouldn't have gotten into movies. I really doubt I would have, because my focus was different. Find your why. Why do you want to live 100% alive? It's not for you. It's not just for you. It's not just for the ego. It's not about saying, look at me. But it's about saying, what problems can I solve? And then why am I willing to look the way I'm willing to look? Because in wearing this today, I wanted to help you understand a different lesson. I wanted you to help you understand that we can think bigger, we can reach higher, we can do what we never thought possible. And sometimes that means not looking like everybody else. I want you to take a look and say, by finding your why, and by the way, you may say, you took this whole episode to talk about that? Finding my why for living 100% why? I thought that is easy. Not really. You'll find this when you're very willing to settle. It's like working out. It's easier to sit on the couch. When you're looking to do things and mentally living 100% alive, at times is going to be a challenge. You're going to get angry. Well, living 100% alive means getting beyond that anger and finding a way to really use that for a positive, that passion. Living 100% alive means being positive when it's easy to complain. It's actively living in victory. Sometimes it's easy to settle for a tie. So a year from today, what's it look like for you? What's it look like for living 100% alive in your life? Then your challenge. If you've watched them before, you know what I'm going to say. I want you to believe it. I want you to reach higher, and I want you to share it. Not for me, but for you. What have you done that's helping you live 100% alive? You willing to look a little crazy, out of place, peculiar? Why? Do it if it's going to help you become that person that's helping others unleash the ultimate, do what they never thought possible. I am Dr. Lauren Murfield, and I want to live 100% alive. I'm working at it every day. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it every minute of every day, but that's my goal. And I want to help you do the same. Join me next week as we talk about doing the impossible. Thanks for joining our show. I'm Dr. Lauren Murfield, and until next week, Remember, don't just survive. You were born to live 100% alive.